Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hopeless Gains podcast and YouTube channel, Founder Series. Today, we're going to be hearing Adam's story. Adam is our COO, and
I'm the coup.
he's the coup de grace. We're just gonna dive into it and get going. We've been, yeah, let's get going.
Let's do it. All right, Adam, we're going to go right into it.
Okay.
So, you've been a part of Hopeless Gains for a little while now. You were there when I did my first go around with Hopeless Gains. But it's only been recently that we've really started going to it. So tell me, what's led to you wanting to be a bigger part of this this go around, or what's led you to the point where you're like, all right, I want to be on board with this.
Well, you were the first person I opened up to about part of my past, and it was a tough road getting there, and I want to share my experience and everything else with other people and help others recover and see signs and know that they're not alone. And I remember when you did the first go around, me and you talked a lot, and there was just not a lot of movement on other people's part. It was mostly yours. And you felt like you were doing it all alone. And I was on Colorado in the oil fields at the time, and so I wasn't able to be there and help and everything else. So.
Okay. So you just mentioned something, your experiences. You want to open up to others about your experience and things like that. Well, let's open up. Let's share your experience so our viewers know what you've gone through, so that, they know, like you said, they want to know they're not alone, but I think we need to open up on our experiences because yours is a little different than mine. I mean, we do have some similarities, but I want to dive into that so that people can hear your story and relate to you.
No, fair enough. So my experience started in the 6th grade. I was suspended in elementary school for squeezing a sponge over a desk, and my substitute teacher thought I was making a sexual suggestion. So she went to the principal and called my parents and everything, saying that I was squeezing them over my chest, saying that I was a woman, and I was leaking everywhere and making jokes about it. And at the time, I was on Concerta for ADD, and the thing I hated about that medicine is it made me kind of zone out. I didn't like who I was. Made the demons very. They surfaced really easy, and so I went. And just my whole childhood going to that elementary school, this one substitute teacher, she's now passed on. She always made remarks, always comparing me to my cousin. Why am I retarded? Why am I stupid compared to my cousin? What happened with me? And so I didn't have, leaving and going to a private school in Provo, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence. I felt like I was compared to my cousin all the time, and I I had no confidence in myself. Then I went to a private school, then to 6th grade to 7th grade, and then one night I missed the bus, so the bus used to pick me up at the end of a cul-de-sac and take me there, and I had no communication, no friends, nothing. Like, anytime I hung out with friends, and they weren't really friends at the time, they'd belittle and everything else, so my confidence level was zero. I had no self-worth. I had no confidence in myself, anything I could do. I was 110 pounds, soaking wet, skinny kid. And one night, I missed the bus on purpose, and I'd gone to an empty classroom, and I had written on the board my suicide note. And one of the kids at school had a butterfly knife that he wasn't allowed to take home because his parents kept confiscating them. And we learned in science about the main artery inside your thigh.
That's the femoral artery, if anyone doesn't know.
Yeah.
You cut that, you got about 2 minutes to maybe 5 minutes at the most to get it pinched off or you bleed out.
And I chickened out. I literally got about 1/4 of an inch inside my skin, and I chickened out. And then some kids had. So one of my favorite games growing up on the Nintendo 64 was a hydro game. It was a
Dated
boat race.
yourself a little bit there.
Yeah.
N64.
Man.
And so one of the kids at school heard about me talking about the game, and he had me type in a website. And he's like, "Oh, dude, this is like boat racing and everything," and typed in a pornographic website. Well, each of our computers at the private school, we had our own separate login, and so I clicked on the website and everything, and it was nasty. So I exited out of it, and the teacher went through the history like 2 weeks later, and I was suspended from that school. And so my parents started getting me in therapy more because they thought I was into weird crap. And girls pissing themselves.
Wow.
Yeah. And the hardest part was people not believing me. They didn't believe that it was innocent. They thought something was wrong, and it took the counselor, I went to the counselor for about 8 months. And then he started to realize that I was just honest. I was being blunt. And I said, I have no problem. We'd play Uno, and we'd sit and share stories and everything else. And I opened up to him. It took 6 months of going twice a week to where I finally opened up to him and said that I had no self-worth. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have any confidence in myself. I thought I was worthless, and just everything. And going into junior high at American Fork, I transferred there mid-year. One of the kids in our ward growing up spread a rumor that he was going to kick my ass. And so 2 weeks into 7th grade, being at this new school and everything, being back around the kids that I grew up with and everything, this kid spread a rumor that he was going to kick my ass for no reason at all. And I had nobody. So I went around this 7th grade terrified that this kid was going to kick my ass for no reason at all. And nobody had my back. And I was over at my buddy's house later that end of that year, and his dad always was a big gun collector. And that was the second time I've attempted suicide. Took the gun, went to the bathroom, shot it, hit the firing pin, didn't go off. I took the bullet out and I had it in my pocket. I had that in my room, hidden, to remind me that I couldn't even do this right. I couldn't even kill myself right. And that's how it went on through junior high and into high school, is I felt alone. I had very little communication or backing from friends that I thought were friends. And then I met my buddy in 9th grade. His name is John. He moved from New Jersey out there, and I finally had a friend that I could hang out with, and it wasn't judgmental, it wasn't belittling or anything like that. We would just hang out, and it wouldn't turn into drama. And one of the kids I went to, that I grew up with in my ward, I'm not going to say his name, he knows who he is. We would hang out, me and him, all the time, and it was fun to hang out with just him and myself alone. But the minute we had girls over or other kids over, I was made fun of I was made fun of the whole time. Looked like an idiot in front. They purposely invited a girl over that I had a huge crush on, and just to spite me. They did things just to spite me.
They used you as a stepping stone to try and build themselves up.
Yeah.
And put you down in front of everybody.
And at this point, I had zero confidence, so I was just numb to it. And the ADD medicine didn't help with that. And when I finally got my driver's license, I went up to American Fork Canyon and just bawled. Just cried. I cried my eyes out. I could not understand why I was such a piece of crap. I couldn't understand why I couldn't talk to my family. I couldn't talk to my friends about it because they'd make fun of me more for it. And I'm driving down, and it was a 92 Honda, and it was a manual. And I was going down from Tibble Fork. I was hauling down that canyon. I made up my mind that I was done. I couldn't do it. And I blacked out. When I came to, I was pulled off on the side of the road about 10 feet from the cinder block they had up around the bend, helping from the floods and everything go over. And my grandpa passed away in 98. I could hear his voice like he was sitting in the car with me. He said, "I'm not ready for you to go. You are better than this." And I went home, and I don't know how I drove home because I was still blacked out. I was aware of my surroundings and everything else, but I had never experienced a blackout in my life. That was the first time. And so looking back, it's weird because a lot of people, like going to high school reunions or whatever, they compare it to how you were in junior high and high school. And everyone that I've talked to ever since then, they're like, it's like, you were really quiet. And I'm like, now you find out why. I didn't believe in myself. Nothing. I have attempted suicide 3 times by the time I graduated high school. It was not a good time in my life. It was a very dark time. And the friend that I hung out with in my ward all the time, I wrote him off. I wrote a letter to him saying that I was done with him. I was done. He wasn't a friend.
Wrote a letter.
Yep. And I delivered it to him. I put it in his parents' mailbox.
Just the age difference.
Yeah.
For you young people, that's like with a pen and a paper.
Yeah.
It's
In
not,
an envelope.
It's not a text
Yeah,
message.
it's
It's not
not.
a social
It wasn't a
media
selfie.
message.
He didn't go to Facebook and unfriend him and dislike his posts.
And apparently that got to him. That made him really depressed and realized that he was a crappy friend, and to the point that his mother went to my dad and said, "I can't believe Adam would write Jake this letter." And my dad had no idea what was going on. I couldn't talk to my dad. My dad he's there for me now, but at the time growing up, it was not a fun household. It was very angry and aggressive and abusive. And so going out of high school and everything else, I served an LDS mission to Florida, and
I did not know that.
I did.
if you meet me
I'll be
today, you would
honest,
not know that.
I had no clue.
And I went to Florida, and I gained about 100 pounds. I, grew up playing hockey and everything else, but never went to the gym. I met this kid.
Gym is life, bro. It's time to be swole.
I swear he'd snort protein powder if it worked.
Does it work when you do it?
It does actually. Better than if you
Thanks for
swallow
the
it.
idea, Adam.
So as you guys can tell, we try to add sarcasm to try to lighten the mood because our sarcasm for me is an outlet to when I'm feeling worthless or reminding my past. I make sarcastic comments.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never seen that.
Ever.
Never. I am so professional. I tried to apply for the HR position here at Hopeless Gains. I was denied.
No, yes, you were, but only because we don't have that position yet.
We don't need that position.
None of us
We'd all
have
be
a
fired
job.
already.
We need a shirt that says walking HR a violation.
Oh, perfect.
So, when I returned from serving 2 years, I had a lot of fun out there. It wasn't, yeah. Anyways, that's for a later story, if ever being told. I had a lot of confidence. I was around people that lifted me up, that gave me confidence and everything else. I came back and I was a totally different person. I was my true self. I stopped taking my ADD medicine when I was out there, and people realized that, I was very sarcastic. They wanted an honest answer. They got a blunt one, whether they liked it or not. And I found my true self. And then I started doing electrical back in 2010. And I got married in 2012.
And then unfortunately you met Ryan.
That's true.
Doing electrical.
He did. But hold on. Not to interrupt him, but I want to back up for a minute. And don't take this wrong, but you say when you came back you had all this confidence, all this in the world, right?
Yeah.
When I met you, you had nothing. Like, I'm not trying to be like rude, but I did not see any of that confidence when I first met you.
You are different now than
Like,
you were when I first met you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you had no confidence. You just seemed beaten down, downtrodden, like, all the time.
You might have interrupted him before he got to that point.
No, you're good. So I'll explain that part. So when I got married,
Well, that's what I do best.
yeah. So when I got married, I married someone that didn't care about me. I got electrocuted and got a concussion, fell off a ladder. She yelled and
That's familiar.
yeah, I got yelled and bitched out for being on workman's comp. Mind you, I just barely got released from Instacare. They said you needed to go home, and I had to drive myself. And they said under no circumstances do you drive yourself. She wouldn't even come pick me up.
I remember this.
She yelled and bitched at me that I was going to be off of work for 2 weeks, maybe longer, while I recovered from this concussion. And any of you that have had a concussion, that was my first one, and I was laughing at stop signs. I was laughing at birds.
That's a good one.
I had no idea. Being in Utah, no one pays attention to stop signs anyways.
That's TBI-esque concussion right there. Yeah, been there.
And that's all it was money to her. And if she's watching this, this is the truth and you know it, so you can't get butthurt. Because it's the truth and truth hurts.
Keep going.
Let's go. We told you we're honest. There you go.
And I was working 2 jobs and was, going with Ryan to the gym and everything else, helping build my confidence. The minute she saw that I had confidence again, I wasn't allowed to go to the gym anymore. She thought I was there hooking up with chicks and everything else. And if you've met
that
Ryan,
long luscious hair.
yeah. If you met this person right here, Ryan, there is no time for texting. There is no time. You barely get time to change your music on Spotify.
He
I'm
let
there
you
to live.
change that in between sets?
I had to learn to do it real fast.
Mike, you should already have a playlist set up, and you already know who it should be.
I do have it set up.
Okay.
And Rob Bailey is all I listen to in the gym.
Yep.
Mine's Slipknot, but
And now Citizens. So I'm just gonna hope.
Citizen Soldier.
Yes.
What do they call that? A shameless plug for
Shameless
Citizen
plug, yes.
Soldier
And Rob Bailey.
and Rob Bailey. Their music
So-
sells. At least Ryan and I through
Yes.
some dark times. Anyways,
Yeah.
off topic. Back to Adam.
Adam,
My bad.
real quick. I don't think you were going to touch on this because you seemed like you were going to brush over it, but I want you to tell the story when we were at the gym Yeah, see, you're laughing, and that's why I laughed. And they need to know why I'm laughing when you mentioned the gym about her being crazy about it.
So we went to the gym. She wanted to go with.
When was this?
This was when you were in Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So we were working out and everything else, and we were going to walk out, and this girl with yoga pants walked right in front of us. And my ex flipped the hell out, thought that I checked her out, which I can admit now I did.
Wait, you were with your ex at
Yeah.
the gym?
Yeah.
Not Ryan.
No, my ex and Ryan.
Oh.
So she wanted to see our workout routine. She wanted to do it, but all she wanted to do was go sit on the treadmill.
Really, what she was doing is she wanted to watch Adam.
Yes.
And I tried to explain this to him at the time, and he more or less didn't want to believe it. But I told him that the only reason she was coming was to control him and to watch him work out, to make sure that he was following what she thought he should be doing.
Yeah. And it didn't help that her father said the married man doesn't belong in the gym. That caused a whole ruckus and a whole lot of drama, because even my dad at the time was going to the gym, and my dad was like, no, there's nothing wrong with a married man going to a gym. I go to the gym, and so, yeah.
6 days a week.
I just think she found any excuse she could to try to twist it. And so anyway, so she thought I'd check somebody out, which I glanced. Sorry, my eyes work. I wasn't using the whole blind thing like. And so she stormed out. She left. And she was pissed. And I was no longer allowed to talk to Ryan, go to the gym with Ryan, and anything. But the funny part about that is me and him were working together. So I don't know how that was going to happen in her world.
Yeah.
And so
you can't speak to him at work all day.
Yeah.
Even if your job requires.
And he was picking me up because we had gotten a new Subaru, and I said, like, okay, how long? Because she didn't work, she didn't have a job, she wanted a car to go and hang out with her sister. And Ryan was like, no, I was like, you need the car for work, and she lost her shit. And so Ryan would pick me up, and we'd go to work. He'd drop me off, we'd go to work. He'd come and hang out for 20 minutes just to unwind. We'd play PlayStation 3. We'd play NCAA, college football.
NCAA football.
That's not existent anymore either. So I wasn't allowed to talk to him. I wasn't allowed to be around him. But yeah, we worked together, so. But it's okay, she's married to a special person now, so. And later I found out why she didn't like Ryan around, because Ryan always said, like, dude, something's going on, I don't know what it is, I can't pinpoint it. I have no idea what's going on, but there's something going on. The way she's acting, her behavior, everything. And it turned out she was talking to guys. She was hooking up with guys. And I found out, and when I was up in Colorado, she thought it'd be funny to rub my face that she was dating someone while I was out in Colorado. We were still married at the time. And she said, I want you to come home, we can get counseling and everything else. Unbeknown to me, thanks to her twin sister, she'd been living with this guy off and on. She had stuff at his house, she had stuff at her dad's house to throw off her dad from descent or whatever. And so when I got home, like, we started the divorce process and everything. Like, I was done. And she thought it was hilarious. And then she found out that it wasn't all basket of roses when he forced her to get a job. And off and on, like, this whole time in our we were barely married 7 years. And I would get called from her supervisor all the time going, like, where is she? Like, and I'd go home from work and she'd be telling me about the great conversations she had with coworkers and everything. And I was like, I knew the truth. And at the time, I wasn't as blunt as I am now. I should have been. Just called her out. And she's been like, you're lying to me, and I know you're lying because your supervisor called me today asking that he hasn't seen you in 2 weeks, and he was wondering if you want to come back to work because he needs you. And so ever since then, like, demons have surfaced and everything else. Like, every once in a while. I got divorced, and luckily for Ryan was around, and me and him talked, and he helped me through that dark period of my life.
Did you guys get divorced before or after Ryan did?
It's after I did.
Yeah,
So it was
2017.
so it was after I had moved
No,
up to the it was when I was in the Pleasant Grove house, and then I moved over into Sanders' house.
Yeah.
It's
Oh. Yeah,
when I was in Sanders' house is when it finalized.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. And just like something I didn't brush over, or I did brush over, was drugs. I got into drugs and everything else. And when I found out that so after my mission, I was dating a girl and she got pregnant, and my little girl was born in 2010. And that sobered me up real quick. I remember thinking, what kind of person am I to be responsible for a kid? And I was not ready for a kid. I was not. And my family got involved, her family got involved, and everything else. It turned nasty. But it really woke my eyes up. Like still to this day, just there's a lot of regret there.
I didn't know you had a kid.
So
Did you not get to see her very much?
No.
Sorry.
She got that's a different topic.
No, it's not. I'm going to touch on that. I think, one of Adam's biggest struggles, and that I've seen, Adam, is it is hard for you for that. I know there's times where you feel like a failure, like a regret. But, when we've talked about it, you've told me that just the point where you were at in your life, you didn't feel like you could give your daughter the life that she deserved.
Yeah.
Like you knew that you were not at a place to provide this little girl with the life she deserved and a father that could be there and stuff like that. So you made a choice that a lot of people don't make. And you chose to give her a better life. And I know that demon surfaces quite often.
It does.
What are you doing to keep that demon from coming out?
Realizing that how to keep the demon out is I realized that I did give her a better life. And at the point I was at, I could barely afford, I barely started electrical, and I was going through school, paying for school and everything else. And there was a lot of money. And yeah, my little girl would be 13 in September. And the sad part is the older I get, I wish I would have changed. I wish I could change that. But at the time, I couldn't afford. I could barely afford to live. And being responsible for someone else, at the time, I didn't really want to work 2 jobs until I got married, and I was forced to work 2 jobs. I worked at Wing Shack at night, did electrical during the day, and I knew it was the right thing to do. But it's still waking up and realizing that I've got a child out there. As far as I know, one, that I made the right decision. And what I do to cope with that is, like I said, it's literally just knowing that I did the right thing. I did the responsible thing.
Yeah.
So, does that answer your question?
So what was the responsible thing?
Was giving her a better life that I could not provide.
So you just walked out?
I signed my rights away.
She was placed up for adoption?
Yes. So
I assume that's what you meant, but I just wanted to.
yeah, sorry.
We
I
just
should-
wanted to clarify.
I should have clarified.
That's okay. For one, the reason why I wanted to clarify is if people, the way you were talking about it could have just been that you decided to up and walk out of her life, and in your
Yeah.
mind, that's giving her a better life.
Yeah.
What you did was one of the most noble things a parent can do for their kids. And that's to let somebody else raise them and give them the home that they deserve. And many of you don't know, most of you don't know, my wife and I are trying to adopt and have been for over a year now. And being on that side of the spectrum, the people that are hoping to adopt other people's kids have nothing but the utmost love and respect for biological parents who can do that. Because as a father of 3 girls, I can't imagine doing that. And Tyr came to help. He's the dog. You can see his stupid ass tail. Quit! Look at my leg! Every time I'm over here, interrupted this very emotional moment. Damn dog. But no, in all seriousness, I had no idea, dude.
I'm gonna put him up.
That's amazing.
We should probably pause.
Now for a brief message from our sponsors. I said a brief message from our sponsors into this.
This is our only sponsor. Us. And the guy that doesn't have one still. Even though it's been 3 days and he hasn't washed his clothes.
Who says I haven't washed my clothes?
Then why didn't you wear one?
I haven't washed my clothes.
Okay.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Sorry, I'm like sweating. This was a lot. This was.
Yeah, you've been over here bouncing your legs all the time. You can tell you're nervous and scared, but it's good.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's good to hear all of this stuff. Most of it I had no idea, so
Yeah.
it's awesome. I
And
mean,
then
not awesome,
yeah.
but
It's awesome that you shared. It's not awesome you had to go
Yeah.
through.
yes. Exactly.
And one thing, I guess, so in Ryan's video, he pressed about a gun he had borrowed from me. That,
Yes.
well, I had attempted when I was married because I was working 2 jobs, had no support, nothing at all, and
Yeah,
then I
that's
got
not true.
from her,
Oh, okay.
from her,
Oh.
and sorry, I had also attempted with that gun before, and when Ryan took it, I felt a bit of relief because it just sat there in my closet reminding me that I had tried and attempted to. And so you're not the only one it misfired on.
Little did you know that you being relieved was for me to do something else.
Yeah, and then selling that gun because when I got it back from him, it was just a reminder to me, and I got rid of all my guns.
I remember that.
And it wasn't, my ex thought, I told her it was financial reasons. It wasn't.
It's because he's now a liberal.
Sorry, we don't employ liberals here.
That's the meanest thing he could ever say. Get out!
There's the door. Don't let it hit you on the ass on the way out.
Or do, you might like it.
Yeah, you are a liberal. No,
I opened up a can of worms with that one.
Yeah.
But no, I remember when you sold those and you came and talked to me about why.
You're the first person I've talked to that, and it took us a while of hanging out and everything to where we start opening up, and both of us were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
We have a lot in common.
Yeah.
We buried a lot of stuff. We carried a lot with us. And I guess the moral of my story is don't carry that much. That was don't carry that weight. Open up, talk to people, find connections. Find people that are truly friends to you, that are true friends, not fake friends. And pretty soon they'll become either a brother or sister, whatever you are. Like me and Ryan are considered brothers. We consider ourselves brothers because we connect and we talk and we share when we call each other when we're having bad episodes or just bad thoughts. Like, that's why I said in the previous video, and I'll say it again. It's still your set.
So I want to touch on something real quick or ask you this, Adam, because I don't think it's something that we've covered in our other two stories, mine or Mike's. When you started opening up to me and talking about things, like what emotions were you feeling going through that?
I was actually going to bring up a similar question.
Yeah.
You phrased it differently, but yep.
See, guys, when you're as close as we are, you can read each other's minds.
It's scary.
But
I felt relief. I felt relief that I could finally bury that demon, knowing that it would not surface and cause issues, psychologically, mental, everything. It was a big strain on relief. It was like taking a huge mental dump that it feels like I lost 30 pounds on my shoulders.
It's awesome. While you were talking and you were saying that there's much of this you haven't ever shared with anybody but Ryan, I wanted to ask you if one of the reasons why you haven't shared is because of shame. And the reason why is because I was so ashamed with how I view myself and the things that I've struggled with that I couldn't open up even to my own wife for years about it, or Ryan for a long time.
No, that's spot on.
But once I started to, I was talking with my therapist. Again, therapy kind of actually works for those who question. And he said that the reason why when we share, we're ashamed, we don't want to share because we think other people will laugh at us or use it against us. But really, that's just our own shame talking. And when we bring some of these out, we realize that they're not quite as bad as we thought, or whatever might happen, or friends accept us even though we've gone through this shitty life.
Yeah.
And the shame lessens because shame only grows in darkness. So the more we can bring it out to light and share it with more people, the easier it is to work through all those things and get through our shame. And so that was...
No, to answer your question, it was a lot of shame and everything else. I didn't even share any of this with my ex-wife. Like, that was the biggest wake-up call for me, was I couldn't even share this with someone I'm married to.
Yeah.
Because they would use it against me, and Ryan knows.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
To wrap up, I kind of want to touch on something that Mike and Adam have both just mentioned. The shame, the past, the fear of that. I think a lot of us struggle with opening up or having our self-worth because we are so focused on the past. And, I was talking to my dad yesterday about some stuff, and he had told me something that's really stuck with me, and I've thought about a lot, that you can't plow a field looking backwards. If you do, you're going to start out going this way, and next thing you know, you're over in the neighbor's field plowing his for him because you're just looking backwards. We've all made our mistakes. We've all had things that have happened to us or things that have affected us. But if we just sit and focus on those things, you're never going to be able to feel like you can move past and move forward from that. You got to look to the future. You got to open up. You got to move forward in your life and start focusing on what can you do now to be better. Not, these are the mistakes I've made. I must live with these mistakes for the rest of my life. They're in the past. They're a mistake. You guys have to forgive yourself. And you've got to move on.
And I guess one thing I didn't touch on was learn to cut out negative energy. That's what helped me a lot, was cutting out negative energy. Negative friends, negative just anything. And I want to thank people that when I was out in Colorado, I had some brain clots. And I had 3 of them. And I was being told that if I got my adrenaline up too much, I got my anxiety up. One was really close to my brainstem, and I would have brain bleed, and eventually just fall asleep and die. So once again, and I did open up with that doctor and told him that yes, I had a cocaine issue and everything else, and he said a lot of that triggers back to like eating your inner lining of your blood vessels, too much salt, stuff like that, like diet and everything else. It eats away your blood vessels and can cause brain clots and blood clots and stuff like that. And what got me through that a lot was Ryan. Was talking to him, even though I was out in Colorado. We talked. We played a lot of like gaming and stuff like that. We talked over online, playing World War II zombies. And I had friends back here that reached out, that sent their condolences and were worried and everything else. And those that didn't give two craps, I cut them out. They were cut out of my life. I learned a lot with Ryan, being brothers with him, that you don't have time for negative energy in your life. That's what it is. It's negative energy. You cut it out. Rip it off like a Band-Aid. Have positive reinforcement. Have positive friends. Have positive influences. So.
Awesome. I like it. Ryan, anything else you want to add?
No.
Any other questions?
No, I feel like I think I've asked all the questions I kind of wanted to ask Adam.
I didn't know anything about Adam's story before this, so I had no idea. The only question I could come up with was, why did you join Hopeless Gains? Which Ryan already asked, so my job was to introduce you. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. So with your story, I didn't know it either. I didn't know your story.
Yeah,
I knew about the alcohol and that was it.
it's about,
So questions for me was like, shit.
yeah, exactly,
I
same.
don't know which ones.
So,
It's alright.
anyways. Well, guys, another shameless plug or public service announcement, whatever you want to call it. I think I change them up a little bit every video, but we're still doing this. Every time, if you're in a dark place and feel like you have no one, you're going to reach out through our Hopeless Gains website, which the link is now on our Instagram. I don't know about Facebook.
It's on Facebook, Instagram.
On Instagram, Facebook, the link to these videos can be shared through our link tree as well. But if you guys are in a dark place and feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, there's 3 guys right here that'll drop what we're doing and take the time to listen and be there for you. And my guess, there's people in your life that will listen. You just gotta get past the shame of what you think is wrong with you and bring it to light, and you'll realize it's not as bad as you thought, and you're not the only one out there dealing with this stuff, and that it can save your life.
It did mine.
And mine.
And mine. So, and we leave that with you as Hopeless Gains, Founder Series number 3.
Like and comment.
Subscribe. All the things.
And
We're
rinse and
YouTubers
repeat.
now.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Watch it again.
Alright. I'll have to cut off this last little bit.
And if you
I
don't,
might not cut out the part about our sponsors.
if you don't like, comment, and share, fuck you.
If you don't like our liberal